I meandered into media, knowing very little about it. All I knew was I was completely comfortable with numbers and my love for analytics. So I started off, I loved what I was doing, and that was it. Never, either which ways. So not within the agency, not with my media partners, nor with clients.
Okay.
So you're only as good as the work and the value you bring to the table.
Okay.
Completely gender neutral. And in many ways, you often get treated the way you behave. So let me give you an example. I did a short stint with the O&M Media Network in London. And the belief at that time on the media buying floor was that women are lousy buyers. And this despite their CEO at that time being a woman. And after joining, I observed that the lone woman on the team at that time was more interested in doing her nail varnish than negotiating deals. So to cut a long story short, by the end of my tenure, I was one of the boys. That sums it all. Gender equality in our society is lip service. Biases begin at home, and they definitely exist at work. The facts are very hard to ignore. So despite all my experience, women are more prone to opting out than men. Companies need to examine and address why this is so. So many factors. Historically, there has been an occupational segregation. Typically more women nurses and male doctors, for example. Or the fact that women are valued less and paid even lesser. Or for example, perhaps, women with the homemaker's responsibility and that of parenting get pulled down. Or lastly, I find that perhaps women themselves sometimes don't take themselves seriously enough.
Okay.
Yeah. So multiple factors need to be addressed and taken care of, because if you look at the women workforce, it's a very narrow pyramid with women at the middle and senior level twice as prone to opting out as men.
Okay.
So that needs to be addressed for society and companies' benefit, both. There are upteen examples in our society where the glass ceiling has been breached. So right from our banking to our FMCG sector to good old politics, yeah, and closer home, even media.
Yeah.
But there is so much more work that needs to be done, because these examples are iconic in nature.
Yeah.
But by and large, that narrow pyramid needs to become far more sturdier. That's it. They always were
Okay.
powerful,
Okay.
only quietly so. Okay, so actually there are multiple factors at play. A, they are more economically independent, financially independent.
Okay.
Two, they are the decision makers right from household, like you mentioned, household products, to higher outlay durables, even financial products.
Yeah.
And lastly, they're no longer apologetic, okay? No longer subservient in playing this role.
Yeah.
In fact, overtly so. They will state it and confidently so.
Okay.
So yes, there has been a shift.
Okay.
From a young age, I believe that a woman can do all that a man can.
Okay.
No difference. Now by that I don't necessarily mean to say men and women are the same.
Okay.
But there's so much more beyond the traditional stereotypical role that we've assigned to men and women.
Okay.
Okay? So if you look at the homemaker role assigned to a woman, it requires so much of hard work and dexterity, day in and day out, and often thanklessly so. A career, again, is as important to a woman as it is to a man, not just because of the money that she brings home, but as much for her self-esteem, right? So often when a woman who is good at her job quits, we attribute it to attitude, behavior, priorities. I would urge you to look beyond the obvious. What happens when you stretch an elastic band? It snaps. So who's to say whether it was the quality of the elastic or the fact that it had been stretched too much, too long?
Yeah.
That is the... Yes and no, both. So there is far more awareness, acknowledgement, most importantly from their partners, as in the men. So a lot of areas, men are not shy of taking responsibility, and this equal partnership. That's a great thing to happen. So yes, things are changing for the better. Having said that, while 10 things are changing, as many are not. So for the pressure on multitasking today is far more. So as a homemaker working from home, you worked as hard, but to an extent the elastic didn't snap. But when you try to straddle too many stools, sometimes there's a danger of falling in between. So that's the not so good part. As compared to the previous generation was more likely a homemaker working as hard, and therefore she was a homemaker, she was a CEO, she was a CFO, CMO of her house.
Yeah.
Today's woman is all that and more.
Yeah.
So there's a career outside her home that she tends to. So not only is she the one who contributes to the family kitty, but there is a pressure and her own self-esteem that she does well and perform well. So as compared to her mother, she is far more hard pushed for time and energy. But she's also at the same time far more empowered in decision making, in leading her life her way, in asking for and getting equality with her partner, with her family, her friends, her social circle. So that's the difference. Yes, marketeers will mirror society, right? So increasingly you will find that across the spectrum, from FMCG to your durables, to your financial products, increasingly they will address her as an equal prospect. So I think there is hardly any category where her influence stroke decision maker is not. What one needs to watch out for in this hurrah and egging her on, society needs to ensure that there is a support system for her. So for example, one of my colleagues who's working with me currently is a mother of a young baby.
Yeah.
So she needs her mother-in-law to look after the child.
Yes.
The family raised their hands recently,
Okay.
so she put her child in a creche.
Yeah.
A week later, the child was traumatic. She wouldn't leave her mother because the creche was not something. So there needs to be a system formed, family, friends, society, companies, where you come together to provide that safety net. That a lot of work I mentioned earlier needs to be done in that area. somebody who walks the walk and talks the talk,
Yeah.
who exemplifies and leads by example.
Yeah.
And that would be, and to my mind, that diva can be the lady who sweeps outside
Yeah.
our building, or somebody who's sitting in an office.
Okay.
So across the whole spectrum, anybody who worships her work
Yeah.
and leads by showing other people an example is a diva. I, I salute
Okay.
such people. So there it is.